anything better than a movie with a bunch of actors who can act, given something really meaty to get into, and just act their balls off. That's what this movie was. This movie's called All the Devils Are Here. My name is Kevin Halden. This is Nerdly Presents. This is Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review of the movie All the Devils Are Here, a movie that I just really got into. It's a slow burn thriller that we're going to talk about. So you know I like to cover everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget, but also so do a lot of my colleagues over at Nerdly. Check out nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British website for all your news, reviews and exclusive interviews. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the plot of this movie with as few spoilers as humanly possible. Then I'll get into what I did and didn't like about this movie. Nope, reverse that. I'll talk about the cast and crew of this movie. Then I will talk about what I did and didn't like about this movie. Then I'll get into my final Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review rating. So let's start with the IMDb synopsis, because that has been serving me so well as of late. But let's see what they had to say. And secluded in the middle of Dartmoor, 4 thieves find themselves hiding out with nothing to do but count the money and time to kill. Already you can tell it's one of those movies. And we kick off the movie with Ronnie, played by Eddie Marsan. And Ronnie is telling us via voiceover, via a little bit of narration, he's telling us that it's his time to get out. He doesn't want to be part of this anymore. But when he's called in by his bosses, they have a job for him. It's not quite time for him to leave yet. He's kind of forced into it. He doesn't really want to do it. And he's paired up with a bunch of people that he's not overly keen on. He gets to the job and they are pulling off a bank heist, and he has to look after this younger guy who's a bit out there, and he's sort of like, look, I'm the old hand, I'm going to tell you what to do, we're going to get through this, it's not a problem, let's be clean, let's be professionals. Things do go to shit though when our young upstart decides, actually no, that's not what's going to happen, I am the leader of the show and I will do whatever the hell I want. He ends up beating this guy to death within the bank, and that's when Eddie Marsan's like, shit, we gotta get out of here. When they do escape, they're heading down the road through the dead of night. They end up hitting someone on the road. We deal with it for a couple of minutes, but then we don't really deal with it again, because they need to get to the man who's going to help them escape, who's also there to like count the money, who's played by Gorman. And when they get to him, there's a house out in Dartmoor, out in the fields, in the middle of nowhere. That's where we're going to go. We're going to lie low for at least 7 days. That's when the movie really kicks in. And that's the slow burn thriller part of this movie, because it becomes the story of these 4 men living in this house for the next 7 days. They begin to sort of think there's a certain corruption to each other's minds. Everyone's a little bit unhinged. And what do you do when you have all that time to spare, nothing to do? Well, you start going a little bit stir crazy. How well do they really know Gorman's character, and why is he even there? Excellent script, great dialogue, fantastic acting. So let's talk about our cast. And yeah, Eddie Marsan, for me, he made that movie a few years ago where he played the radio presenter. I genuinely loved that film. Little bit again like a thriller, a sort of bottle movie. But Eddie Marsan is one of those actors that can do no wrong. You kind of just love everything he's in. And in this, he's very much front and center. It very much feels like his movie. It feels like it was written for him. It just feels like a role he was kind of born to play. Shady, sinister. Is he the good guy? Is he the bad guy? But there is clearly a reason as to why he is here. Playing alongside him as our youngster, we do have Sam Claflin as Grady, an actor that I've definitely seen. I've seen him around, I've seen him in movies, I've seen his name all over things, but I can't say I'm a massive fan of him, because I can't really put my finger on everything I've seen that I really enjoyed him in. He's playing the young upstart, he's got the world at his feet, he's a little bit volatile, he doesn't really want to listen to what Eddie Marsan has to say, and he definitely doesn't want to listen to what Gorman has to say. I just genuinely believed the character that he was playing, he was believable, and when he starts kind of going up against Eddie Marsan, as much as you want Eddie Marsan to just slap him and give him some act right, he is doing some great stuff against him, and that's where the movie sort of lies, is their chemistry. And then of course, I've mentioned him a couple of times already, and I'm going to mention him now, Gorman. I'm a big fan of Gorman. He always brings the good in those more intense kind of roles where there's a lot going on behind the eyes. He's kind of just acting with his eyes, and in this movie he plays numbers, a character we know very little about. We are drip-fed information about some of our other characters, and then we are given a whopper of information about Burn Gorman towards the end. But I was a fan of what Burn Gorman was doing here, because I've been seeing quite a lot recently when I've been doing these reviews, sometimes less truly is more, and Burn Gorman doesn't want to give much away about his character. He's not wanting to give too much away. Suki Waterhouse is somebody that I'm quite familiar with, and it's great to see her in this. She plays C. She plays this character that sort of like is the go-between between the gaffers in the city and the guys living in the house, or so we think. We're going to be told a little bit more about her as we go. We don't really know a great deal about her, but what we do get, she's doing a good job. So that's your cast. But before I do move on, I do want to also talk about our director, Barnaby. This is a director that I don't really know. I honestly can't say I've watched anything like out the top of my head. I can't think of anything I've watched that he's done previously, but I'm well interested in what he's going to do going forward. The dialogue in this film is really cool, but this director is able to let our actors breathe and sit in these moments. There are a few moments sat around the table where I think any other director may have cut that scene a little bit short. Didn't let it breathe as much as he did, and that's what I loved about his choices. But in terms of like things I didn't like, I want to start with something. It's a tad predictable. Once you really get into this movie and it starts moving and it starts going at a pace, and we're kind of got that slow burn thriller out of the way, and we've learned about our characters, we know the situation we're in, it does become a tad predictable towards the end. Like the last 15 minutes of this movie, I thought I'd clocked it, and I had clocked it for the most part. There was still a couple of surprises in there. When you have four guys in a building just sort of acting against each other, and you really start to think about what's actually going on and who's saying what and who's doing what, it does become a little bit like, oh, hang on, I may have actually seen this movie before. But that doesn't matter, because it's the acting that we're here for. It's the chops on Eddie Marsan. It's the chops on Sam Claflin. It's the chops on Burn Gorman. It's the acting they are giving us. And they are giving us some great stuff. Some of the best stuff I've seen from these guys in a while. Cinematography-wise as well, I have no complaints on this thing. This thing looks gorgeous. We're in a ratty little shitty shack in the middle of nowhere, and it looks like a ratty little shitty shack in the middle of nowhere, but in all the best ways possible. And this cinematographer, I didn't look his name up, but this cinematographer took advantage of everything he had at his disposal. And then when the guys are all getting into fisticuffs, the camera follows them with a little bit of frenetic action. Sometimes we're just standing still with it, but a lot of the times we're getting in and we're getting amongst it. There are some practical effects in this movie that I wasn't really expecting, that took me by surprise, and honestly, really well done. Like, we get some really cool, what you might call gore shots, which just really played well in the movie and did what it was supposed to do. So I'm going to get into my final Nervy Presents Off the Reel rating. This is the rating of myself, because we like to have a conversation. There's a community out there. Let's build it. Let's keep it going. Let's talk about movies. Let's have opinions about movies. But for me, this movie is a 4 out of 5. It's damn near perfect. Is it perfect? No. I do take it down a little mark, because honestly, I kind of saw where we were going with it towards the end. I kind of knew what the ending was going to be. It didn't really shock me in any kind of way, because we do get a couple of twists, but those twists, although they didn't land as massive as they could have, they did land, they did work, and they made sense, but they just didn't really affect me in that kind of way that I would love to have been affected by. So yeah, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5, and that is purely for my entertainment as a whole. I did think we had some fantastic acting in there. I think Eddie Marsan is as good as he's ever been. I think Burn Gorman is just dependably great. And I think Sam Claflin, somebody who I've not really rated in the past, or somebody who has not really wowed me by any stretch, I think he's great in this movie. I think he plays it really well. The character was super believable, and I thought he was a dick, and that is what he was meant to be. He was meant to be a dick. Barnaby Roper, I really do want to check out anything else you do going forward, anything you direct going forward. I will be 100% be looking out for anything new. But in the meantime, if you saw the movie, please do hit me down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought. If you think I am absolutely bang out of order, let's talk about it down below in the comments. That's where I like to keep the conversation going. Please do hit that like, hit that subscribe, and ding that notification bell, because it does all help with the algorithm. Lets people know who we are. It means that we can complete YouTube, we can conquer it, and we become known. If you don't want to even do that though, why not just whisper into someone's ear about us and about what we do? We might not be your cup of tea, but we might be 3 or 4 other people that you know we might be their cup of tea. That is the least I could possibly ask of you. Please go and do all those things. I think you're all amazing. And remember, if I don't see you in the cinema, I'll see you in the next review.